Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people that I say we are march up the dance. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights on.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Tonight, the People's National Party is facing one of its most difficult political moments in recent years. 1 week after leaked voice notes appeared to capture two party members discussing strategies to discredit the head of the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA, Major General Anthony Anderson, the party has finally responded. PNP President Mark Golin says the conversations did not take place in any official party forum, did not involve party officers, and do not represent official party policy. But he says the voices heard were actually PNP members. But questions continue to mount. Why did it take a week to respond? Has the party successfully contained the political damage? And has the controversy exposed the deeper divisions within the opposition? Those questions grew louder today as senior members of the party faced the media but declined to go beyond the president's prepared statement when pressed about the recordings. Tonight, we go beyond the headlines. We examine the political implications, the communication strategy, and what this entire episode could mean for the PNP heading towards its next leadership election. I'm Tyrone Reed, and this is Lead Story Prime. Thanks so much for staying with us. For nearly a week, the opposition maintained its silence, radio silence to be fair. Then at its National Executive Council meeting, its president, PNP President Mark Goling, said the party had completed what he referred to as a review. He said the leaked discussions did not take place in an official party forum, that no party officer participated, and that the party has no official executive WhatsApp group where policy is made. The president insisted the comments represented the personal opinions of individuals, not the official position of the People's National Party. But today's press conference produced a few additional answers, with party representatives declining to go beyond that official position. So, has the PNP successfully drawn a line under the matter, or has its response created even more questions? To discuss this issue, we are now being joined by political analysts Jermaine Barrett, Ronaldinho McLean, who's in studio with me, Joshua Atkins, and we'll later be joined by Decardiago Nelson at around 8:15. Thank you so very much, all of you, for being with us here on Lead Story Prime.
Thank you for having.
Thank you.
Thank you. Viewers as well.
Indeed. Before we take your comments, let's remind our listeners of what was said in the voice notes. Then we want to also take clips from the media conference today.
In my humble opinion, I think they've outsmarted us and then putting this man now to be a CEO and whatever.
Bear in mind that the Nara bill is what the JLP sees as its glory and its savior for a fourth term and a fifth term and whatever. Speaking to some of them recently, some of the operatives, they see Nara as their way out to get back in tune with the Jamaican public, because they know them in a bad state, the public itself, with the cost of living and everything. So they see Nara as a saving grace, and they are going to do everything in their power to try to get whatever done, which means bypassing like our parish council, which, you know, probably would do delay tactics and don't get it, which is why they did it that way. But safety standards and these things is a concern. So, well, let's play our ball game of politics.
Mario, the concern I'm raising is this, that Anderson's track record is not one full of blemish, that it will be so easy to attach certain things to him. The corruption argument not going to be attached to him so easily, right? In my humble opinion, I think they've outsmarted us and then putting this man now to be a CEO and whatever. Reality is, we need to ensure that the average Jamaican is saying, we don't care who he is. He could have full of integrity, like, wow, he could have been whatever. He's the man who sought out all of the hurricane relief that got it to Jamaica, whether we know it or not. So I would love for us to be able to put that information together, package it for the ground so that the average Jamaican can get that information.
And of course, that's the controversial voice notes that has got the PNP embroiled in controversy. Now, the party president, Mark Goling, at this NEC meeting on Sunday, that's a meeting of its National Executive Committee, he delivered a statement, a prepared statement to the media, video release, in which he did not condemn what was clearly some remarks that should never have been made. And let's have a listen to the PNP president in his own words. Better to hear from Mark Goling on this issue than me. So let's listen to Mark Goling.
Before I get into the issues relating to this National Executive Council meeting, I wanted to say something on the issue that's swirling out there about these leaked recordings. And I think it's necessary for us to say something. The People's National Party chose not to comment publicly on that matter until we had the facts before us. Our review is now complete, and it established three things. Firstly, the conversation in which those leaked recordings took place did not happen in any official party forum. Secondly, no officer of the party participated in that discussion. And thirdly, the PNP has no official NEC or executive WhatsApp group. That doesn't exist. And certainly not where party policy is made. This was a WhatsApp group formed by individuals within the party, and the views expressed were their personal views. So those recordings do not represent the official position of the PNP or any policy of the PNP. The PNP takes responsibility for its official positions. Those are set by our constitutional organs, such as this National Executive Council or the Executive Committee of the party, and those that are communicated by our authorized representatives and shown through our public actions or through our public media outlets, social media outlets, and so on. So, with that clarified, I just want to turn to the matter at hand.
That's the PNP President Mark Goling on Sunday. The PNP had a media briefing today at which they didn't address the issue, but of course the media posed the questions to them. We have that lined up for you, but let's take that after we take a break right here inside Leach Story Prime. And of course, when we come back, we'll have the views of our eminent panelists. Soon come.
July 31 to August. We have to have a whole heap of livestock on display. In this village, for the picnic them play. Come enjoy the hype road, them the gospel show, and get your heart redeemed. Run, come buy your plants and produce and witness the crowning of your farm queen. Don't have them big. Admission adults 1,500, children 600. Don't have them big.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Hi, I am Kendi Pang.
Watagwan.
Watagwan.
Datagwan.
Watagwan.
Watagwan. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
Datagwan pa Watagwan.
Thank you so much for staying with us right here inside Leach Story Prime. We're discussing the leaked voice note scandal rocking the People's National Party. And of course, we have with us Ronaldina McLean, who's in studio with us, Jermaine Barrett, Joshua Atkins, and we are also being joined by DeCardiago Nelson. Yes, DeCardiago Nelson, he joins us. Welcome to the program, DeCardiago Nelson.
Hi, good night. Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed. All right. So we've gone to the point of listening to the voice notes. We've heard the PNP president's remarks on it a week after the party remained silent. So the PNP president broke his silence on the issue, which de facto meant the party was breaking its silence on the issue. Then today at this media conference, the PNP representatives present were questioned about this issue because, of course, what Mark Golding presented to the nation left answers, left questions, more than provided answers. And those questions were put to the PNP representatives. And let's have a look at the exchanges.
This is a tangent question, actually. In relation to this call about transparency and accountability, there is the matter of the leaked PNP voice notes. Have the officers of the party identified the individuals in question, and have those individuals faced any level of punishment, disciplinary action, and would you condemn what was suggested on those voice notes by those members, who I believe one was a councillor who suggested that through the local authorities they would essentially obfuscate or try to delay any aspects of NARA that could be of a benefit to the same people who you suggest should get benefits today?
Okay, well, the leader of the opposition spoke on this on Sunday. I believe you would have been privy to what he shared. What our internal workings have been is not for the public discussion in terms of how we are speaking with those who are in those conversations. What I think is instructive is that a certain media house decided to publish select voice notes from a chat they had access to, a private chat, and refused to share the other positions that were more in keeping with our stated public position. But we've become accustomed to the media house in question being very deliberate and skewed in how they report. But our position has been stated by the leader of the opposition, and we will not be speaking further on that topic.
So you don't believe what was said deserves some level of condemnation, because Mr. Golding did address it, but he did not condemn what was said in those voice notes, only to suggest that it is not the official position of the People's National Party.
Well, Mr. Golding is not here today for you to ask him further about his position, and so...
Which is why I'm asking your position, as in, would you condemn what was suggested in that voice note?
As I've said, the leader of the opposition has stated our position on that topic, and that's the extent to which we're going to be speaking about that. What we would like to speak about is NARA and the very fact that months after Hurricane Melissa, many families remain under tarpaulin, while billions of dollars have been left in accounts to languish. What the PNP has stated from the beginning is that we want a reconstruction entity. We want an agency that is accountable, transparent, and open, and that is fair, and that gets to the people who really need the support. We've said from the beginning, and we're consistent with that, that NARA as designed does not breathe confidence. However, it has been passed into law, and so we will have to continue to do our responsibility as the opposition to monitor them and to hope and pray, as the many Jamaicans across the island hope, that it will actually do good for the people who need the support. Any other questions?
Well, a follow-up to that statement then, based on what you've suggested here, would you then assure the people of Jamaica that no member of the People's National Party will get in the way of NARA doing that duty, considering what has been said in those leaked voice notes?
Well, the leader of the opposition was clear about the party's position on NARA. He actually named a representative to support us on the committee that manages NARA. Can't remember the name of it now. Jamrock, right. So it means, therefore, that we have a representative there who will share with the committee our position. The People's National Party has been at the forefront of getting relief to people in disaster. We have shown by our action, we have shown by our words and our public statements that we support any initiative that will get relief to families who need that relief.
That's Nikisha Burchell. She's the Deputy General Secretary of the People's National Party. Now, it appears this is a hill the PNP is choosing to die on Ronaldinho McLean. You heard there from Nikisha Burchell. They're not speaking any further, not going beyond what the party president has said. And basically, she's saying the conversations they're having with the implicated people in the voice notes, that's a private matter. Ronaldinho McLean.
I think it's more of a fence that they're willing to die on than a hill, because they seem to not be taking a position. I heard Ms. Burchell say there that the party's position is clear and the opposition leader's position is clear. I don't know what the party's position is. It's not clear to me. What I do know is that when the party responded to the appointment of Major General Anderson when he was appointed, they raised concerns about whether the fair process was followed for his appointment, whether he applied for the position, and whether his appointment is consistent with the promise of transparency and accountability that NARA is supposed to proffer. And so I don't know, actually, whether those voice notes inspired that statement and that position on Anthony Anderson. I don't know. The PNP is trying to distance themselves from it. I don't know whether the informal or not group chat with members of the National Executive Council, because it's naive to have us believe that only a group chat which is formally and officially titled National Executive Group Chat can shape party policy. If the reports are true, these are members of the National Executive Council, the highest decision-making body of the party, and at least one member, it is being reported elsewhere, is a councillor with direct responsibility over local governance affairs, speaking about delay tactics at the parish council level. That's a serious charge. And so I think the PNP has a lot more to say on this issue, and they're choosing to hold their silence, probably because they can tell that this is not an issue that people are taking lightly and not one that people feel good about.
Joshua Atkins, political analyst, he joins us. What your take on what you've heard so far from the PNP on this issue? Is it enough?
I think it was a flippant, backhanded remark to simply say that what happens clearly amongst, or conversations that are being had clearly amongst people who are heavily aligned with the PNP, that doesn't shape party policy, or, well, the opposition's policy or perspectives on certain matter, as Ronaldinho has said. But also, I think it's an issue with their selective respect, it would appear to me, for the democracy and the systems that have been established, right? I think on one end, we get numerous challenges against the government in respect to the extent to which certain procedural rules are being followed, whether Major General Anthony Anderson was selected based on free and fair guidelines as being one challenge. But on the other hand, in the same breath, being able to discuss certain unconventional political strategies that are quite frankly disruptive, right? Discussions surrounding smear campaigns, for example, are serious matters which the opposition must contend with, right? It's no longer about whether or not this bill, whether or not the entity NARA works, but also it speaks to the commitment, the respect that the party has for the wider systems and how they navigate those systems. So it's just not enough for me.
DiCardiago Nelson, let me hear your thoughts on what you've heard so far.
But I agree largely with what my colleagues have identified, so I won't really continue on that line of argumentation. I'll just say that I don't think, one, agree that what has been said is sufficient, but I think even more than that, I think in light of the fact that the parishes that NARA seeks primarily to work within, which are namely Hanover, Westmoreland, St. James, are in this context, the People's National Party have over 50% stake within these parishes. For example, Hanover, both constituencies have PNP representatives. Westmoreland, all 3 seats are PNP members. In St. James, only 1 member, namely Ms. Burchell, would have given her comments today. So I don't think, in light of what has been said, that there has been enough by the People's National Party to, one, condemn these actions, but additional to that, to clarify what exactly is the stance of the People's National Party. If it is to say that, like, what was released is selective in nature, then clarify to us, the average, the concerned citizens of Jamaica, as we all are, what exactly is the stance? How exactly are we going to, what we're going to do to facilitate NARA? It's not enough to say that there is one person who will clarify the stance of the party, because still we don't know what the stance is. It's flippant, very ambiguous, and given the history of what we've seen, especially since the election, being very, against the government in all that has been done. I think there needs to be a clearer stance of the party here, be it on principle, especially since they've been advocating for principle and integrity and all that kind of stuff. I think we need much more in lieu of that conversation.
And let's turn to the man with a PhD in public commentary, Jermaine Barrett. I call him Dr. Jermaine Barrett. Look, it appears the People's National Party is peeing on the public's foot and telling us it's raining. Is that what you see happening here? Because quite frankly, Nikisha Burchell says it's none of the public's business, this conversation they're having with the people implicated in these voice notes.
Erudite, I must first of all approve with the comments made by my fellow comrade. But as they were speaking, I thought recall that when Bruce Golding was facing his own hell with respect to the Dukes affair and him, sort of enlisting the support of a firm from Europe to lobby the U.S. government to ease the pressure, ease the demand for the extradition, the extradition of Dudus.
Cook, yes.
That his response was, "Well, I did that not as Prime Minister, but as party leader." And what was it then, PNP's response? Their response was, well, you can't be flip-flopping between party leader and Prime Minister. You're one and the same. They're one and the same. Now, the analogy here is you hear in a leaked voice note, members of the NEC, of the People's National Party, making, I agree, private commentary.
To be fair to them, the PNP says these are not members of the NEC. They say these are not officers of the party. To be fair to them, they did say that.
They say that they're not officers of the People's National Party, and I understand it are just about 7 of them. So they may not be officers, but they influential members of the People's National Party, sufficient to influence and to impact policies of the People's National Party. And so for them to be expressing these sentiments, these obnoxious and absurd sentiments in private, and it become public, and the party does not take a stance to absolutely announce it and decry it and to divorce themselves entirely from those kinds of sentiments, it does say a lot about the party, its integrity, and the extent to which it is prepared to go to prove itself as being and deserving of the trust of the Jamaican people, particularly in this context where trust is so desperately scarce.
I see Ronaldinho McKinley's champion at the bits to come back in, but we are up on a break. We're going to take a break. We're talking about these leaked voice notes, this scandal rocking the People's National Party, and the PNP is basically saying, look, even if we're having conversations with the people heard in these voice notes, that's not a public matter. Is that okay with the people of Jamaica? We'll take a break and come back with more.
Walking on the Word with Apostle Professor J. Andrew Scott every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m.
Hallelujah. And they have some people now where you look forward for them. They bring a joy to you. They make you laugh. When you see them, they make it give you a good vibe. And them people that you want around you, man. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now follow me with your heavy self, man. Sure. Your heavy down, sir. Hallelujah.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Start your journey with a Jane Bank Small Business Loan with small business loans with as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million.
The time is 8:30.
Welcome back to Lead Story Prime. We're talking about this leaked voice note scandal rocking the People's National Party. And of course, one of our panelists here said earlier that this is not a hill that the PNP is choosing to die on. It's more like a fence because he's not too clear as to what the People's National Party's position on this issue is. Heard from the party president on Sunday. Deputy General Secretary faced the media today, and questions delivered by Nationwide's Siobhan Campbell at that press conference. You wanted to come in before the break, Ronaldine McLean. You were saying what?
Yeah, I wanted to support Jermaine here because I think that the opposition leader was not clear in saying that these weren't National Executive Committee members. What he said was they weren't officers of the party, and this wasn't an official NEC group chat. But before this, I went on the PNP's constitution to clarify what's officers of the party, because it's a very specific term that they have. Officers of the party refers to president, vice presidents, chairman, general secretary, treasurer, and legal advisor. Those are the people that the opposition leader was removing from responsibility in this matter. So that could, and National Executive Council and National Executive Committee are way broader groupings of people that could include like reported councillors. And I think that this is part of the general dancing around the actual issue that has been going on in response to this voice note scandal. The PNP isn't saying what their position actually is on Major General Anthony Anderson and what their position is on Nara. They're not saying whether or not they will condemn these voice note recordings. They're not confirming or denying who the people are in these voice notes that we're hearing, whether the reports of one of them being a councillor is true or not. And I think that this bordering on deceptiveness, this caginess around this issue does not speak well, does not reflect well on the kind of transparency and accountability that they like to champion.
It's none of your business. You don't need to know, Ronaldine McLean, what we are saying to these people. A party, one of two major political parties in the country, should they be allowed to make statements like that?
I think that kind of comment is a slap in the face to people who are still reeling in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, who are expecting that this National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority will deliver them some semblance of normalcy and hope. And I think it's a slap in the face to Jamaicans who actually took the PNP side on telling the government to slow down with this NARA bill, to think about the accountability mechanisms in place, to listen to the civil society organizations and so on. It's a slap in the face to say this is none of your business.
Jermaine Barrett, if I could bring you back into the conversation here, Doc. Basically, Nikisha Burchell says the media house that brought this story is being selective in the voice notes that they have utilized. Why not air the others if you are saying that there are other voice notes that would exonerate the People's National Party?
Precisely. That is a bad question. The PNP has had copious amounts of time to disclose the full extent of the conversation so that Jamaican people can appreciate that things are being taken out of context. They have not done so. What it does say to me, a Jamaican who care about this matter and believe that it ought rightly to be of concern to me, is that they just don't care about me. It doesn't matter, and it's none of my business, so I should just shut up and carry on with my business. That's what it says to me. And I just want to make the point here, Tyrone, Professor Tyrone, understand that character matters, integrity matters. And these are persons, at least it is alleged that at least one of them is a counselor, a representative of the people who would have gotten into office on the assumption that he is fit and proper for the job. This statement now attributed to him, and there's not been any denial, because I'm sure the PNP knows that he's been pointed as being the person responsible for one of the comments. The obnoxious and disgusting comments at that there has not been, there's no accountability being made, and there's no attempt to hold him responsible and to prove that the party is willing to put punitive sanctions on him. None of that. So what I'm led to believe then is that, well, we'll deal with this privately. However we deal with it, it's our business. It's none of your business. You're too nosy but out. That is the arrogance that I'm getting from the People's National Party now.
And let me see if I can bring Joshua Atkins back into the convo. The refusal to condemn the comments, what universally has been accepted as comments that have no place in the national discourse among people seeking state power. I find it to be absolutely wild. The PNP president he didn't condemn the remarks, and then we heard it from the Deputy General Secretary being asked pointedly a number of times if she would condemn the remarks, and she too stayed clear of it. How do you interpret that, Joshua Atkins?
So I think it's a poor use of the PNP's already small political opportunity window, particularly during a time where we're experiencing things like voter apathy in Jamaica, where a lot of people are just disengaged from politics, particularly younger persons, right? And I think it does two things here. One, I think it confirms the already existing anti-establishmentarian sentiments that our system of governance is a sham, that selecting either parties won't get you the meaningful outcomes that a lot of Jamaicans do care about. But the second thing I think it does is that it proves, or at least signals, that we don't have a unified, salient opposition party that is willing to defend the genuine interests of Jamaica, if it is, the genuine interests of Jamaicans overall, if it is that they have to resort to certain unconventional and disruptive political strategies to fulfill their opposition burden, right? And these things all impact how people are represented, particularly where we're moving away from calling them the opposition party to more the minority party, to signal that there is an element of representation that happens on the side of the opposition. I think it is tantamount to I don't want to use very strong language here, but I think it's tantamount to a betrayal of the mandate that Jamaicans have placed on these politicians, right? That they're to protect their interests, that they're to defend them within the scope of the system, and not resort to things like the dirty politics that a lot of Jamaicans just don't find interesting, right? So, in respect to the comments that have been made, I do think it is a public concern. I do think the conversations that are being had internally, right, are conversations that are supposed to be revealed to the public, because ultimately they are the people who the opposition is accountable to.
All right, let me see if I can get DiCardiago Nelson back in the conversation. Now, the refusal to condemn the comments is wild, and the PNP is clearly dancing around that issue. I'll come back to that question in a little while. But personal responsibility, let's talk about that. The people actually heard in the recording, Mr. Nelson, do they have a personal responsibility to come forward and to say, I'm the person, I'm holding my hand up, I'm sorry for what I've said, and ask for the forgiveness of the Jamaican people? Should that happen?
Yeah, I think they absolutely should have done so, especially in light of the fact of how these political actors usually go about doing their work. And like when you hear something that is defamatory, or that's something that can have a significant impact on the standing of the party, especially in light of the fact that it is, or the public perception is that it is fractured right now in light of things like the election of the leader next year. so on and so forth. I think they have a responsibility, or even if it is that, and it's not just like the responsibility of the persons who made that comment. I think it's also the responsibility of the leaders, the National Executive Council, or the persons who have power, the President, the General Secretary, the Disciplinary Committee, the Internal Affairs Committee. I think these are persons who, in light of this, should have made a public statement immediately after, as they have the capacity to do so because they've done so in the past. When allegations have been made against them, they release a public statement, even if not from the official party, they do so from their youth arms, for example, condemning these actions, condemning these words, which I think it speaks very poorly of them as an institution for us to hold them credible. In light of the fact that, when the bill was passed, it's fair to say that they had good traction when they talked about things like holding the government to account, holding NARA to account. And so now to make this comment that goes against everything that they have said earlier, it does, in the mind of the average Jamaican, lower or credibility of them to comment on this matter, especially that it is of national significance, not just to Jamaica, but in particularly the members who have a majority stake within these constituencies and the local divisions that exist, which they have majority control.
Dr. Bart, I'd love to hear you and Ronaldinho on this one. Should the PNP be concerned that their handling of this leaked voice note scandal may have an impact on their performance at the polls? Should they be concerned about that, Dr. Bart?
I think it will certainly be amplified and weaponized by the Jamaica Labour Party in a competitive political environment. They will do that, and the longer the PNP takes to get their response right, the longer they take to be absolutely firm in rejecting and decrying and, dare I say, punishing these aggressors. It's the more ammunition they're giving to the Jamaica Labour Party when it comes around to election. You're going to see these clips, be magnified to an enormous extent. But I want to say just before I end that I don't want for people to believe that the JLP, they are squeaky clean. A conversation needs to be had, for example, about why Dr. Andrew Wheatley is still in the cabinet. That's a conversation for another time, but I'm just putting that out there, that I have not gotten a solid response as to why it is that a party would hold on to him in the cabinet when it is that on the other hand they are defending integrity and and anti-corruption posturing.
And that's a conversation we might have right here on Lead Story tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. I'd love to hear you on the handling Ronaldinho McLean affecting the PNP at the polls.
I mean, I'm not sure, because we have a way of making things like these 9-day wonders in Jamaica, and so I think maybe the specifics of this voice note may fall out of the national conversation soon. What I believe will continue to happen, though, is NARA will continue to work, and whether or not NARA implements and executes and delivers to the people of Jamaica what it promises to do might be very significant in the next both local and general elections that are had. Perhaps the existence of these voice notes will lend credence to a view that the governing Jamaica Labour Party might paint against the PNP, that look, they were obstructionists against NARA, and NARA is delivering now if it does deliver. And so, if you like NARA, if you support the work it's doing, then you must vote against the PNP. We'll see. To tell you the truth, I'm less concerned that this will be punished electorally. I'm more concerned about what it reveals about the kind of sincerity of the PNP in this instance, but Jermaine raises a good point about both parties, their sincerity about these issues of integrity and accountability.
We're talking about the leaked voice notes. It's the scandal rocking the People's National Party. When we come back, it is widely held that a leadership challenge might happen next year. Does that have an impact on the PNP's response to this issue? Soon come.
I'm me, the stylist, no scam and can't style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress. You charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Tara Reid. This is Lead Story Prime. With us on our panel tonight, Dr. Jermaine Barrett, Ronaldina McLean, Joshua Atkins, and Dicardiago Nelson. And we're talking about the leaked voice notes. Yes, it's the latest scandal rocking the People's National Party. And the response so far hasn't been great, not high marks from the public commentators. One of the points that we said we wanted to discuss when we came back from the break, Dicardiago Nelson, is it is widely held that a leadership challenge might be forthcoming in 2027. Do you believe that has had an impact on how the sitting party president, Mark Golding, has responded to this issue? Doesn't really want to offend anyone, trying to get all the delegate votes that he needs to remain president.
Well, I think, I will not say that it does definitively, but I think it could have an impact within the party. I know Mark Golding is usually seen as a strong figure when it comes down to speaking publicly on matters of integrity and accountability, but has been less so to do when it comes on to infractions within his own party. And this is one such instance where rather than being upfront with the people, he resorted to a script, very, very few lines of comments that were very ambiguous, very vague, in lieu of what has been said. And, in light of the fact that, Mark is always going against the government, antagonizing them today, be more accountable, be more transparent, be more open with the public, this certainly goes against his character. So it's something that if he does not rectify soon enough, I'm not sure Lewin is still open to do much damage control. But I think it could have an effect. I'm not going to say that it definitively does, because there's still time. And as Ronaldina said, the 90s wonders within Jamaica. It could be all washed away in the wind within a few weeks or so.
Joshua Atkins, do you think the current party president for the PNP is looking ahead? Is he playing the long game? Is that why he hasn't outrightly condemned those heard in the voice notes? Do you think that played a part?
So on the surface of it, it seems counterintuitive that a president who is up for challenge might do something to harm the perception of his party. So I feel like there isn't a rational incentive per se, but based on some sort of political challenge, that the response would have been how it is right now, right? But I still think that there probably is an extent to which it might influence a lot of the stances of the People's National Party and effectively why their response seems so erratic. It might be, and this isn't definitive, right? These are just my personal opinions in respect to that.
But it just might be that sort of internal tension might cause the PNP to have certain erratic and often irrational stances that are counterproductive and counterintuitive to its political success. So there probably is a world in which that's happening.
Ronald Lee McLean, and we are getting close to the time that we have to close, but what in all of what has happened, what's the most flagrant aspect of all of this for you? Is it the deliberate decision not to condemn those heard in the voice notes? Is it Nikisha Burchell basically telling us that, look, even if we're talking to these people internally, it's none of your business, basically? What do you think is the most flagrant aspect of all of this?
I think that, in both of those kinds of responses that we've gotten, there's a sense of lack of regard for the intelligence of people, of citizens, voters, people watching and listening, that we're going to dance around this issue of whether it was actually NEC members on those voice notes by saying it wasn't party officers and it wasn't an official NEC group chat, that we're going to say, no, look, it's none of your business. We talked to them in private. You don't need to know what the subject of those. We're not going to confirm or deny whether the people reported in were actually true, and we're not going to actually take a position on whether we are in support of or whether the party is in line with the views expressed, only to say that the views expressed aren't necessarily official party policy. I think all of it just reeks of a kind of general lack of respect for intelligence, and I can't sanction that.
I can't understand it, Dr. Barrett. At a bare minimum, there should have been a condemnation of the remarks when the party president broke the party's silence on this issue. And you have to wonder, who is advising the People's National Party that they would have made a statement and there was no condemnation of the comments?
Well, I think it is two things that are at play. The party leader that the more important audience that he needs to play to are the members of the People's National Party, and he cannot afford to engineer a divide there, so he would rather salvage what he can get from that audience, even to the detriment of the larger voting audience, because hey, an election is some way down the line, so he can salvage things thereafter. He holds on and secures the position of leader of the party. That probably is a calculation that is at play, hence the response. The second thing I think is you keep hearing the PNP speak with absolute palpable hate towards the particular media house that broke the story. And I have been talking with PNP insiders, members of the PNP, high-ranking people within the PNP. And the sense I get is that the hate that they have for that media entity is so intense that it blinds them from appreciating what the appropriate response should be. They don't want to come across as giving ground too much to the demands of this media house and, quite frankly, by extension, all other media entities. So what do? They double down. They become entrenched in their silly positions, even to their own detriment.
Silly positions, you say, and I gather that might be putting it mildly, Dr. Barrett. It's inexplicable to me, Joshua Adkins. It's inexplicable that the PNP hasn't just said, look, these statements should never have been made, whether or not it's an official WhatsApp group of the party. These sentiments have no business in the national discourse. Especially not by people who are being paid by taxpayers' money.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the consistency of the message and the principles that underlie the PNP and its values. For example, if I value integrity, the average intelligent person would expect me to prioritize integrity in the vast majority of decisions that I make, and that be consistent in all of my actions, right? I think where that inconsistency in terms of those values come in is where the PNP refuses to outright denounce a lot of these unproductive sentiments and unproductive conversations that are happening to save face, in a sense. But I don't think that that's the way it should work, right? I don't think that's the way how people expect the politics to work. I feel like the vast majority of Jamaicans are looking right now for unity within the party, consistency, and I think this is just one action that gradually takes away from it over time.
I have about 20 seconds for each of you. All right, so I'm going to go around the table, beginning with you, DiCardiago Nelson. If you're advising the PNP on this issue, what would your advice be in 20 seconds or less?
Yeah, my advice would be, to stick on one hill that you're willing to die on, defend that, and ensure that in an instance where any member of the party goes against that, that they're immediately condemned or that action is taken against them to assure the people of Jamaica that you're a reputable actor, that you're credible in whatever it is that you say.
All right. Joshua Atkins, if you're advising the People's National Party on this matter, what would it be?
It's very simple. Take into consideration the average Jamaican, how are the extent to which they've been impacted by Hurricane Melissa, right? And to develop an appreciation for what that suffering actually translates into in respect to policy, right? So what is supposed to be the reaction? What's supposed to be the policy, the mechanism to offer solvency to a lot of that suffering?
All right, Jeremy Barry, 20 seconds. If you're advising the PNP on this issue, what would it be?
Yeah, my friends have said it all. I'll just say that to my larger Jamaican audience, Jamaica dies, the democracy dies when we remain silent and we become apathetic. Don't buy into that tendency of apathy. We ought to speak up, we ought to speak out and make the politicians know that Jamaica is ours and we will stand for what is right, what is in what they claim to talk about ever so often, integrity, good governance. That's what we're demanding here.
Ronald Leader McLean, the final 20 seconds are yours.
Well, I guess if I'm giving them advice, the party leader has already come out. They've already done this press conference. Not much has come from either of those. You know, if they want to save themselves some face at this point, tell the people in the voice notes to come forward. Say it was me. I'm sorry. Those statements were wrong. I shouldn't have made them. And then maybe put out a press release clearly stating that these statements made in those voice notes don't reflect the position of the PNP, that the PNP outrightly denounces them, and we can all move forward from this issue.
That's where we're going to have to leave it for tonight's edition of Lead Story Prime. Tonight's discussion was never simply about leaked audio recordings. It was about trust in the political process and leadership, trust in public institutions, and trust that when parties seek to govern, they place the national interest above partisan political advantage. The PNP has now spoken. It says the recordings do not represent official party policy, but in politics, perception can sometimes prove as powerful as fact. The challenge now is not only to convince supporters, but to reassure the wider public that the party remains united, focused, and ready to govern if they are given that chance by the people of Jamaica. But of course, what they've given us, the answers they've given us, have raised more questions. That's all we have time for in today's edition of Lead Story Prime. Thanks for watching.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.